Hello, our Support Fibro friends. Welcome to our live stream and with our special guest, Brandi. Brandi is back. Welcome, Brandi, from Being Fibro Mom and Support Fibro co-founder. It's so awesome to welcome you back to the stream. We're going to have a great conversation today. Please post an emoji. Let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments. We are going to have a Q&A at the end of this presentation as well. And let us know where you're just chiming in from. Please like and share this video, as this is a great opportunity to talk about back to school. We're headed back to school, and I'm interested to learn more things of how Brandi manages her household preparing for back to school. But Brandi, how are you doing this morning?
I've got goosebumps right now because it is so awesome to be back with just Support Fibro and Being Fibro Mom and doing this live video. I have been so excited and nervous at the same time to get back. This is my first time in almost 2 years that I've done a live video. So excitement and nerves going on at the same time, but I am just super excited to share. And look, I came from underneath my desk to come out. I was hiding from school all week long, and we just got a few more days to get back into the school cycle, and I have been very nervous about it. But I am not the only parent living with fibromyalgia that is dreading this back to school time.
Well, and everyone needs to check out those reels that you've been posting about going back to school when it comes to coffee, and then getting everybody prepared in the household for back to school trips. And I know we have a lot of different questions. I mean, when it comes to school shopping as well, how in the world do we get all these school supplies and get everybody ready, managing when we're living with fibromyalgia? So I'm definitely delighted that you'll be sharing this presentation with us today, and then we'll have some updates and news at the end of the presentation as well. Anything else before we decide to move forward with the special presentation?
Yeah, if you have any tips for how to make a Reels video for someone who's over the age of 40, please send them my way. My kids have been laughing at me because I've been trying to get the knack of these Reels videos and how to make them and stuff, because I wanted to share my struggles in a humorous way about going back to school, and just to make light of it because it's already a heavy topic. And so my kids have been laughing at me saying, "Mom's doing one of her videos again," because I'm over there trying to touch the screen and do all this stuff. And so if you have simple little tips to throw my way, I'd be happy to have them my way.
I have always said that you needed to have a camera on you 24/7, because there's so much good content that comes out of your household for any of it, whether it's reels, shorts, TikTok videos. It's all over with all those short cameo appearances. There's so much stuff happening in your household that you capture these little moments, and it's fantastic to see. And then you add so much humor too. You have pets, you have the kids, you have Dave and yourself. So I've always had so much fun when I had a chance to visit and all the adventures. And then there's the whole yard and gardening that you have there too.
Yes, you opened a can of worms with this whole thing with me, because you've been telling me, and I've been very hesitant and digging my heels in saying, I can't do this. It's just too much. And then I was just like, you know what? I just got to do it, rip off the Band-Aid and just do it. And so I did it. And I showed my 15-year-old, who is really big on TikTok and Reels, because she's an artist and she's always, she doesn't show her face, but she draws, and, she's got a huge following. And so I kind of took it to her and I was like, I kind of did this morning. What do you think? And her face lit up and she was like, "Mom, this is so good. This is your first video." And I was like, technically it's my second video. The first one was a template that I just plugged in and stuff. And I said, yeah, this is my first one that I actually recorded. And she was like, "Mom, it is so good." And so even late last night when I was going to bed, I said late, but it was 8:30 at night. I was telling her, I was like, "Hey, I have some ideas." And I was telling her, and she wants to be a voiceover actor for animation. So she was giving me some tips on what she could do and how she could help me and stuff. And it's a lot of fun. We do have a lot going on in our house. And what I love about me, Dave, and the kids is that we all deal with our struggles in a very humorous way. We do have behind the door private moments, and when we try to really, cry it out or talk it out, do whatever. But then we always come back with humor once we get a grasp on it. We make fun of it because, I mean, what can you do other than just, try to make it as you go, and humor is the way we do it. So there's definitely going to be more videos.
I love it, and saying hello to Latoya out there. I know she's been explaining reels to me and making those short videos as well, so we're all gonna be collaborating together. At one point, we're gonna have to do one of those threads where we start a reel and then we continue by resharing it from, or remixing it, that's the word I was looking for. We each remix it and we go down the line of, like, fibromyalgia advocates that can remix, but someone has got to start it off. So that's what I was talking to Latoya, and I didn't want to start it off. I didn't know what the concept should be, but maybe we should figure this out moving forward now that we're all becoming experts in creating these short form videos.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds like a lot of fun. I've been watching these reels videos by, other functional medicine providers and fibromyalgia patients and stuff, and they're just really inspiring. And I think it's a great way for us to not only raise awareness, but, amp up the advocacy, which is what we're all about at Support Fibromyalgia Network. So yeah, there's so much potential there. And I just love it. I love it.
Well, I can't wait to share and see more reels coming out from being Fibro Mom and also all these back to school tips and advice. So, why don't we dive into the presentation? I'm going to let Brandi begin and share the screen and we can get started.
Yes. So I reached out to Instagram, Facebook, and just dug inside myself and saw, what are some common struggles that we're all having this time of the year? Going back to school and transitioning from summer fun to back to school business can be very intimidating in itself. And so when you add fibromyalgia on top of it, it can get a little muddled. And so there's a lot of struggles we have. So I just, reached out and saw what was some common struggles we're all having. And so I compiled this list, and these are, the top 5 struggles that we're having. And I'm not just going to tell you about the struggles and why you might be having them, but we're also going to talk about some tips and to, better manage it and to overcome it a little bit. So here we go. So struggle number 1, afraid of the unknown. So one of the top struggles we're having is not knowing how each day will be in terms of feeling well, flaring of symptoms, or how our energy levels are going to go. Very common. Not knowing what to expect at school, such as this new school environment, teachers or classmates. And yes, us parents can be afraid of that too. It's not just the kids that have this fear, it's us too, because what our kids do, we do as well, right? And not knowing how to handle an unexpected situation. We know by living with fibromyalgia, there are so many things that come up and we just don't know, like, what is that going to do? Flares really limit our ability to help our kids getting ready for school in the mornings, helping with homework in the afternoons, attending school functions. And all that uncertainty causes stress. We become anxious, and all of that just heightens our symptoms and can make them worse. It can even trigger us into a flare. We have questions such as, how will the teacher respond to our questions or issues, especially if we have a lot of them? What will the new school environment be like for our kids? Will our kids get along with other students? And all of this is a very natural worry and very natural feeling. So there's a lot of us that have it. So don't think that you're alone with these feelings. So here are some tips for conquering fears of the unknown. And if I'm going a little fast, it's just because I'm nervous and I have a tendency to speak fast anyway. So I'll try to slow down a little bit. So number 1, we need to accept that the unknown is going to happen. So it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And we have to keep in mind that when it happens, we have to know that it's going to be okay. We are going to unexpectedly not feel well. We're going to have a flare in symptoms. We're not going to always be able to be on top of things first thing in the morning or in the afternoons when our kids get home in the afternoons. What we have to do is we have to trust ourselves in knowing what to do. No one knows our body better than we do, and no one knows how our body responds better than us. So we have to be easy on ourselves. Don't start berating yourselves with these negative thoughts. Don't be unkind to yourself, because your body can hear all of these negative things that you say to yourself. So just know and trust yourself that you're gonna know how to respond to it. And we're gonna get into some other things later on in the presentation, so don't worry about it. We're gonna get to it. So on the days that we're feeling well enough, because we're never really actually feeling, completely well, but when we're feeling well enough, we need to make plans for when we're not feeling well. So when we're not feeling well, it's really hard for us to think about what we need, because like we get fiber fog, we got all kinds of stuff going on. And so when we are feeling well, it's good for us to write down, like make a visual note of what can help us when we're feeling not so great. This could be stocking up on frozen meals, quick and easy meals to make, having a flare kit at hand, which is heating pad, cold compresses, creams, medicine, whatever works for you. Write down things that bring you happiness, such as if you like to garden or you read, listen to music, snuggle up with your pets. Those things are going to help you too. And this is going to be something you're going to hear repeated a lot in this presentation, is do things that bring you happiness. It's very important. Talk with your kids about your fears, about the unknowns of the upcoming school year. If you start with your own fears when you're talking to your kids, that's going to make them feel more comfortable about opening up about their fears. So they see us as we're parents, we're superheroes, nothing ever gets in our way. We don't get bothered by things. And we know that's not the case. We worry about a lot of different things. And having a fear of the new school year, whatever that fear is, if we let our kids know, hey, you know what, I'm kind of worried about what kind of teacher you're going to have, like what they're going to be like, or, I'm kind of intimidated by the new technology you have. And, if you start doing those little things and doing it in such a way that your kids feel comfortable talking to you about it, you're going to realize that they have a lot of fears too. And that's going to start a whole conversation. And it doesn't have to be a conversation about all your fears in one setting. I'm all about baby steps, baby step it, baby step it. So just a little bit at a time. So sometimes kids are not going to want to talk to us, and that's okay. We want to encourage them to talk to someone they do feel comfortable. There are counselors at the school, there's teachers that they feel comfortable with. And if they decide to talk to these other people that they feel comfortable talking with, don't take it as an insult. Don't make them feel guilty about it. We should all have a safe space in which we feel free to talk about whatever we want. And we don't want our loved ones to feel like they're being offended by us going to someone else. So just let them know that's great that you have someone to talk to. I talk to, and then fill in the blank, whether it be your best friend or your loved one or your parent, whatever it is. And just let them know we all need someone to talk to. And it's okay if that somebody is not a parent. For younger kids, one of the ways that you can help them with their fears is by reading books together. There are videos that you can watch about the first day back to school. Even if you have older ones that are like in middle school, YouTube has so many different videos out there, humorous videos, reels about going back to school. Just watch them together and it makes them feel comfortable, and let them know they're not the only ones that have that fear. Every single kid, whether it be their first year at school or they're going off to college, they have a fear of something of some kind, whether it be big or small. And it's good if y'all approach it with humor together. Humor, laughter just makes everything feel better, don't you think? Let's see. Struggle number 2, becoming overscheduled. Oh my goodness, I am so guilty about this. This is so easy for all of us to do. I am a yes person. Saying yes to too many extracurricular activities at the start of the year with hopes of doing more than in previous years. This is, so many of us have to do this. We all feel like we have to say yes, 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 right at the front, and we're going to get it all done. And this can actually become, a problem, a pain in our side, because we become overscheduled, and it just can wreak havoc on us physically and mentally. And we feel obligated to volunteer for school activities because of guilt of living with fibromyalgia. We're always, like I said in the first one, we're always wanting to do more than previous years. Well, last year I couldn't I couldn't volunteer for all these activities. I didn't volunteer for any, or only volunteered for one. And this year I'm going to like double it or triple it to make up for the last year. Or, you know what? I'm going to do XYZ because I have this guilt of living with fibromyalgia and limiting my abilities. And when we do that, it leads to becoming overscheduled. Then sometimes we literally make a schedule for to make up for living with limitations of fibromyalgia. We say we're going to get up at 7 a.m. or, whatever time. We're going to get up at 7 a.m. and by 7:30, we're going to be doing this. And at 8 o'clock, we're going to do this, and 9 o'clock, and, yada, 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 the whole day. This is not good. This leads us to being overscheduled. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in depth about scheduling ourselves and what we can do instead. Tips to avoid becoming overscheduled. One thing you can do is ease into the school year by limiting extracurricular and volunteer activities for the entire household. As the year progresses, take on more or drop some to accommodate the family as a whole. And so it goes back to what I was saying. You don't want to go right off the bat and say, you know what, I want to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to do it all. Just start with one thing with your family. Because if you have multiple children, even saying one to each child, and you have like 3 children, that already obligates you to 3 different activities. Or if you're saying, you know what, the school is giving a list of activities for the entire year, and I know I'm going to do all of these things. Don't do that to yourself. You're just setting yourself up for failure. Just remember, when you go into this, you can always add more as you go on. And if you add more and you decide, yeah, this isn't working for us, you can always scale back, okay? Nothing is set in concrete. You can make changes as you go along. Do volunteer opportunities you are passionate about and will bring you happiness. Avoid stressful activities or ones that will overextend your body. I am guilty of this. Absolutely, I am guilty of this. I always, want to be there for the teacher, because teachers, to me, are like, they're my own little hero. They're there all the time. They're constantly taking their personal time, their personal money to put into our kids and making sure they have the best learning environment. And so I always want to try to help out. And so I always end up overdoing myself, and one activity, one opportunity to volunteer may not be as appealing as the other, but I do it anyway. And then I end up overextending myself, and it just ends up leading into a flare. And so what we should do is just pick and choose those volunteer opportunities we're passionate about. Like our school has a community garden. That would be something that I would be wanting to do rather than working in the school library. I love reading, but I don't want to work in a school library. It's way too quiet for my loud personality. So I don't want to be in a stressful situation in which I have to be quiet all the time. I want to be outdoors and put my hands in the dirt and, help kids out and show them things can grow. So pick and choose, be really picky about what you do. And remember, there's always going to be ways to volunteer at your school. It's not just a one-time thing. There's probably at least 6 things a month that you can volunteer to do. So don't overdo yourself. Opt for a routine rather than a schedule. Allow time for transitioning from one activity to another, like waking in the mornings, resting time, so as not to add more stress. So this is something that I harp on a lot in my home, on my blog, and when I talk to other people. I do not like a schedule. And how is a routine different from a schedule? A schedule has this nasty little boundaries of a time constraint. It's like I said earlier, you got to do something at 7 and then go do it at 8 and then not. I don't like doing that. Mentally, I start to shut down when you tell me that I have to start doing things at a certain time. I don't work like that. I like the freedom to flow as I'm ready, freedom to flow as my kids do things. I've learned very early on, I had all 4 of my kids were 6 and under at one point, and I couldn't be on a schedule. That just did not work for us. Tantrums would pop up, couldn't find shoes, dirty diapers, didn't have anything to eat for the kid. It was just a nightmare. So this is when I started opting for a routine. So the way that a routine is different is that not only does it free you from these strains like confinement of a time, but it also allows your family to go in a natural flow that is okay for y'all. So for example, I don't say, okay, I'm waking up every morning at 6 a.m. and then I'm gonna read from 7 to 8 a.m. What I do is I say, I'm gonna wake up around 6. Sometimes it's a little bit earlier, sometimes it's a little bit later, around 7 o'clock. Now, these are summer hours, okay? So I'm just doing as an example. At around 7 o'clock, I get my coffee and I start reading for about 30, 45 minutes. And then after that, I will do, and then, whatever it is. In the afternoons, I usually rest around 2 o'clock because that's when I hit my wall. So I will rest, put my feet up, have a cup of tea, do a little bit of reading. I do that for a little while, like 30, 45 minutes until I feel ready to get back in the game. And then, whatever, I start making dinner around 3:30 or 4 o'clock. We eat between 5 and 6 o'clock. After dinner, we pick up, then we watch TV together. So it's just about what works for your house. Just take away all those time constraints. I mean, obviously you have to get to the bus at a certain time. Your kids are going to come home at a certain time, but try to work around that. So that way you're not having to stick to that schedule. So if you have a flare of symptoms, if something unexpected comes up, you're not stressing, worrying about, oh my gosh, it's 3 o'clock and I was supposed to be doing this and now I can't. So that way you can just have the freedom to move about your day as you naturally would. Let's see what else. Struggle number 3, depleted energy. And if you have any questions about this or tips to share at the end of the workshop, at the end of this presentation, we're gonna share comments, tips, and questions from viewers. So some of the struggles we have is it's hard to get moving in the mornings. I'm a morning person, but I also tell my kids, please don't talk to me before I've had at least a half a cup of coffee. And they know this. I'm not mean about it. They just know that my brain does not function that early in the morning. Sometimes I hit a wall in the afternoon, such as 2 o'clock. Like I said, it seems like almost every day at 2 o'clock, I just slam into this wall. It's like one of those cartoons, you see them running, Wile E. Coyote, and he runs into the wall and he slides down it. That's what I feel like I'm doing at around 2 o'clock every single day. And it's just a part of living with fibromyalgia and being exhausted. Not having enough energy for school activities in the evenings. Oh my goodness. It seems like every single activity is scheduled for the evening time. And I know it's because parents work and they want to be able to have participation, but I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel like I can't attend any. I actually have a meet the teacher this evening at 6 p.m. And I've been thinking about, okay, well, I have an appointment at 3 o'clock this afternoon. I got to make sure that when I come home that I have time to just rest. I'm going to have a very quick and easy meal for us to eat. So that way I feel rested when I'm able to go this evening, because I'm not good with evening activities at all. We find it hard to move through each day, regardless of the activities, chores, and errands. It's just something that happens to us. No matter how much we try to prepare, it's just going to be hard from the moment we get up until the moment we go to bed. And this isn't because we have a flare, but some of us are just like that. We just find it hard to move throughout each day. And it's okay that if it happens, I'm going to share some tips right here to be able to increase the energy. I'm not saying you're going to be like Superwoman with all of this energy, okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just going to give you some tips that might be able to help you. So we're going to eat foods that give energy and avoid the foods that drag us down. There are foods that help with energy. Greens like spinach, kale, those sorts of things. You have the good carbs, oats, sweet potatoes. They're really good for that. Foods with vitamin B like sunflower seeds. You want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water. And then we want to avoid those other foods. And let me just say, it says to avoid caffeine, but I'm not going to tell you to give up your caffeine. I would not do that. The world would be a very ugly place if we did that, okay? Just avoid that caffeine in the afternoon. Like if you want to pick me up, I have a tendency to, when I'm out and about and I feel my sugar going down, I have a tendency to like grab a Snickers bar. Ooh, I love Snickers. But I can feel that energy pick up, but then I end up crashing. So try to avoid that if you can. The afternoon caffeine, try to avoid gluten. If you have a sensitivity to gluten, try to avoid that. If you have sensitivity to dairy, try to avoid that. Nobody knows your body better than you. And food has a tremendous effect on the gut, which has a connection to your brain. And so just think of it like this. You put in good stuff, you're going to get good stuff out. So try to put in all that food that your body craves and loves, and try to avoid that food that is not so great for your body. And again, I'm not saying cut out the, treats 100%. We all have our guilty pleasures from now and again. I'm just saying, as a whole, just try not to load up on it. Try to have the good food outweigh the bad food. Save activities or tasks with the times of the day you do have energy. This is going to help shape your routine. So if you're more of a morning person than an afternoon person, try to do some of your chores at the beginning of the day rather than in the afternoon. Did you see what I just did there? So, and if you're an afternoon person, do it in the afternoon rather than the morning. Don't try to push yourself to do things if you're not able to do it, and use this to guide your routine. And I know this is going to sound really, really absurd, but on the days that I know that I need to rest, those are the days that I do laundry. I know it sounds crazy. I know it does. But my laundry is on the second floor and is right next to the master bedroom. I think they did that on purpose. And so when I know that I'm going to be laying in bed and watching TV, or I'm going to be reading with my feet up, it doesn't take any time for me, like if I'm on the way to the bathroom, to just pop into the laundry room, throw in a load into the washer, or go from the washer to the dryer, or pull them out of the dryer. And even with the dryer, I just hang up the clothes that I don't want to iron, because I don't like ironing. I know it's awful. But I also don't want them to sit in the dryer because I have more clothes going in. And so I try to just pull those out. And even if it sits in a basket on the side and I can sit in bed and fold those clothes, that's great too. So do what feels good for your body, what feels natural for your body. Let me see what's next. Space out your errand chores throughout the week instead of doing it all in one day, and incorporate it into your daily routine. So this is about creating a visual family calendar. And we're going to do this later on in the presentation. But don't do all your chores during the week or one day. So I have it spaced out. And my kids have chores, and we'll talk about that later on as well. But I literally write it down on my calendar. So I have a laundry day, which is the day that I need to rest. I do my my yard work. It usually takes me 2 hours to do yard work. So I usually schedule that on a Wednesday. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I usually don't schedule anything. I try not to make appointments on those days. I try not to really have overexertion of my body on those days. I try to have rest periods. And when I do my yard work, I do it in the earlier part of the day, because not only is it cooler, but I work better in the morning versus the afternoon. And then I don't plan anything for the rest of the day because my body needs that time to rest. Again, we're going to talk more about this later on, but think about how your week kind of just is, and then try to formulate your routine based on that. Fridays, my mom growing up never did anything on Fridays. She had her weekends on Fridays and Saturdays. And so I just grew up accustomed to, on Thursdays, we did all of our cleaning for the weekend. So the weekend we wouldn't have to do any of that cleaning. And then on Friday, my mom didn't schedule any appointments. That was her rest day, because she also lived with fibromyalgia. And so she had to accommodate as well. So I grew up that way. And so that's how I am now. On Fridays and Mondays, I try not to really do anything, because on Friday, we're trying to go into the weekend to our family activities. And on Monday, we're coming out of it. So I try to balance it out in that way and try not to put a whole bunch. But again, we'll talk about this in a moment. Make sure you give enough time for rest between your task or your chores or your activities. Like I said, if you're doing something at 2 o'clock and then again at something at like 5 in the evening, try to schedule some rest in between. And when I mean rest, I mean literally put your feet up and rest. Don't try to do something else and you're like, oh, I'm resting. No, you need to legitimately rest, do something, listen to music, snuggle up with your pet. I told you were going to hear this multiple times. Do something that takes care of you. Practice self-care. It's not selfish. It's what your body needs in order to go from one activity to the next. So let's not overdo or overextend our body. It's not worth it. You know, this is really common in the fibromyalgia community. We all say, you know, we're going to go ahead and do it because it's totally worth it. It's not worth it. We need to break up that task as much as we possibly can, whether it be over the day, over the week, or over the month. I have house projects that are literally a page long right now. I've been chipping away at it for about 2 or 3 months because every weekend, my husband and I, we just pick 2 or 3 things to do on a Saturday morning. And if we get it all done, great, we can check it off, but we don't take on any more. If we can't get it done, then we just put it right back on the list and we tackle it the next weekend. And we only do it on Saturdays. So just break it up and do it a little bit at a time. Prepare for the next school day by preparing the night before. This could be packing your lunches, gathering your backpacks, have the kids' clothes laid out, whether they do it by themselves or the younger ones, you do it with them. Make sure their shoes are by the door. I don't know how many times I have been late to school because my children cannot find their shoes. And I'm talking about the 15-year-old as well. So try to have those things done as much as possible. My kids, I really encourage them to make their own lunches. I do help them with it, but they like to do it the night before and they put it in the fridge. Like they even make the sandwich and then just pack it into their little lunchbox and put it in the fridge. They even fill up their water bottles and have it ready. So the next morning, that's just less things that we have to do. My youngest loves to not complete her homework. She'll tell me, oh, I don't have any homework. And then the next morning at 6:15, she's at the dinner table doing her homework. So my promise to myself is that this year I'm going to make sure she is doing her homework the day of and not the morning of and getting it done, because that can add a lot of stress. A lot of emotions can start running. And so we really want to try to minimize that as much as possible, especially if it's hard for you to get up in the morning and get going. You want to try to plan the evening before. That 15, 20 minutes the evening before will be amazing the next morning. You will reap the benefits from it. So really try to do that. Choose slow cooker meals and prepare sooner in the day if dinner time is a challenging part of the day. Oh my goodness, we have to eat dinner every single night. Ugh, it's just something we have to do, right? And so I try to do something earlier in the day. I was actually just talking to my husband yesterday because I was working late yesterday afternoon on the computer trying to make sure I was prepared for this presentation. And before I knew it was 4 o'clock and I was like, oh my goodness, I really wish I would have had a slow cooker meal so that way I didn't have to do this, because I was just really aching from head to toe yesterday and I really just didn't want to go in the kitchen and cook. And so I was like telling my husband, I really need to start focusing more on slow cooker meals during the week. And there are loads of slow cooker meals out there. Even if you're gluten-free and dairy-free, there is loads of slow cooker meals out there. Pretty much any meal could be made into a slow cooker meal. And I hear that Instant Pots are really great too, but me and Instant Pots don't get along. So if that's your thing, go for it. Make it easy for you. Batch cook and freeze it. I could go on and on, but just make it easier for you. Struggle number 4, feeling overwhelmed. So thoughts of upcoming activities, meeting new teachers, and the feeling to be more involved will lead to feeling anxiousness and being overwhelmed before school begins. It is so easy for me to get overwhelmed, and I know I'm not alone with that. Feeling as though fibromyalgia symptoms are out of control leads to negative thoughts about our abilities. We start thinking about all these things that we're not going to be able to do because of our fibromyalgia, and then it just, it blocks us and just is like, we start feeling overwhelmed. Like we're like, oh my goodness, we're not going to be able to do all these things because I'm not able to. And we can go down this rabbit hole of negative thinking, and that makes us, stressed out. Feeling lost on how to transition from summer to a school year schedule. That is so easy. When or during the summer, we can, get up around 6 or 6:30 for our house. Well, my husband and me, not the kids, they sleep until like noon. But then from the summer, or excuse me, during the school year, it's not so easy. We have to be up no later than 6:15. The older kids are a little bit later, but we have to go to bed a little bit early. So it's how do we transition from having that freedom of doing whatever we want to a little bit more structured routine once we get back into the school. And notice how I said structured routine and not schedule. So here's some tips for feeling overwhelmed. Let's not worry about any possible future activities and focus on the current day and week, and let's take it one day at a time. This is something that I've really learned in the last couple of years. I am Aries, and so not a schedule, let me retract, not a schedule. Knowing what my calendar looks like and what I have to do is a focus for me. I start thinking about the next day, the next week, the next month. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, if this doesn't happen, then this is going to happen. And, this and that. And what I've learned is I can't worry about all those things. I don't need to worry about something until it becomes a worry. There's nothing I can do about it. And this is where your family calendar is going to come into play, which leads us into the next tip. Put it on paper. So I have sticky notes around. If you could see my desk right now, I have seriously like 7 or 8 stickies just around me because I have to get it out of my mind and I have to visually see it. I have to see it on paper, whether it be this to-do list, when this free trial runs out, things that I need to check on. I have to visually see it. And so when I take it out of my mind and put it on paper, it makes me feel less overwhelmed. It makes me feel a little bit more in control about what I have to do. And remember, we're going to be focusing on routine, not a schedule. So again, we're going to talk about this in a little bit about family calendar. Remember, establish a routine, not a schedule, with your kids before school starts and start to practice it. And we can make adjustments to that routine as our family is needed. So right now, my kids are not liking me right now because I'm like, hey, you can't stay up until midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning watching Corey Kenshin anymore. You need to start being in bed at, 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, depending on their age, because they get up at different times. And again, you don't have to be like really strict about it, but you can say, give me your electronic devices, which I have to do with my little one. I caught her up until like 2 o'clock in the morning on her little iPod playing, this makeup game. And I was like, okay, you got to start giving me your electronics when it's time for you to go to bed. And this will ease them into getting their body back onto a good sleep routine and being able to get up earlier in the morning. So that way on the first day of school, especially my 10-year-old is not fighting and giving me attitude and this and that. We're ripping each other's hair out before she even gets on the bus. So find out your routine, find out what flows best for your family, and try that at least a week before school starts if you have a little bit longer, because I know some of us are already back at school, but some of us aren't going back until September. So this is your heads up to go ahead and create that routine now and start practicing it now and tweak it as you feel your family needs it. When feelings of being overwhelmed begin to rise, do something to calm down your feelings. So I can feel myself starting to getting overwhelmed. I just start shutting down, especially because I have sensory sensitivities. So if it starts getting too loud or there's too much visual stimulation going on, I start just shutting down. I have to go up. So I have to if I'm at home, I've removed myself from the situation. I go up into our closet and I shut the door. That way it's completely dark. There's no sounds. And that way I can have a moment to calm down. Otherwise I'm going to be like Medusa coming out and like screaming at everybody. So I have to feel myself start to work up and I'm like, okay, I have to take a step back and I have to gather myself. And just calm down. So that step away that you take needs to be whatever brings you happiness. Do something that is going to calm you down, whether that be go reading, go sit in a closet like I do. You go out and garden, listen to music, snuggle with your pets, do those things that make you happy, because that's going to calm you down and that's going to make you start thinking clearer. And you're just going to feel better. Body will start releasing that stress, and you're going to be able to go back, and you're going to be able to, tackle whatever it is that you were tackling. Or if it was just getting too much and you just needed to carry on, you'll be able to carry on in a much happier way. And just remember that what works one time is not going to necessarily work the next time. So like yesterday, I was getting really worked up about something, and I was driving home, and I was like, okay, I need to listen to music right now. And so I listened to music, and I started to feel better. This morning, when I was starting to feel a little overwhelmed about how I was going to tackle this presentation, listening to music was not it. It was too early in the morning. And so I was like, you know what? I need to go take a shower. I need to step away from the computer, and I need to take a shower, and that will gather my thoughts. And it works. So what works one time is not necessarily going to work the next time. Just remember to take that step away, breathe, meditate, whatever it is, and then go back to it. All right, struggle number 5 is fibro fog. So let's just pause for a second and let's tackle, what is fibro fog? So this is a common symptom of fibromyalgia. It's cognitive issues, which makes it difficult for us to think and understand clearly, concentrate, and say what we need to say. And it can affect our memory, ability to process information, engage in conversation, and decision making. So all of these difficulties can make it a challenging day and leaving us feeling anxious, overwhelmed, stressed out. But there are ways that we can overcome it, and we're going to talk about that in the tips section. So some of the problems that come with fibro fog: not being able to remember the appointments, school events, extracurricular activities. That's where we're going to have our family calendar, which we're getting to. I promise we're getting to that. Seeing these on paper is going to give us a better sense of control, and visualization helps many people. We have an inability to concentrate, to help with school assignments, process school information, or have proper conversation with teachers. I have 3 kids living with me. My oldest lives with my ex-husband in Virginia, but the 3 that are here, we have elementary, middle, and high school. So it's like we have like beginners, like middle, and then advanced as far as school is concerned. But there's a lot of information. We're all in the same district, but being in 3 different schools mean 3 different dress codes, 3 different ways of how they do things, 3 different principals, all these different teachers. And it's really hard for me to concentrate or process all of that when I have all of it coming at me at a moment when I'm having fibro fog. Even at the best of times when I'm feeling on top of it, I'm like, wait, stop, say that again. I need to process that. And that's okay. It happens. We're not able to think clearly to make informed decisions about your child's progress in school, the best way to help with the school activity. Again, it just steps in the way. It's just like everything you're seeing is just through a veil of fog. And it's really hard for us to engage and do what we want to do if we're just not really understanding what's going on. And it's totally okay. All of this leads to feeling defeated, resigned, or withdrawn. So we want to try to help with that fibro fog as much as we possibly can. It's not going to go away. There is cognitive behavioral therapy. I know that a lot of people have taken it, and it does help improve their cognitive function. But you're still going to have some of these issues, regardless of how on top of it you're going to be on, because this is what fibro does. So let's see about some ways to help that fibro fog. Create a family calendar to track upcoming appointments, school activities, and other important events. This can be a paper or electronic calendar, but a paper calendar may be better for the entire family to view it. I told you we were getting there, and we're there. So I have a family calendar. Now I have a calendar on my phone, and it is a lot to try to keep up with too, but I need to have that visual. Our family calendar is one of those old desktop calendars that you would see. I put some 3M Velcro strips on the back of it, and I put it up right beside the pantry. So that way it's in an area where everybody can see it. Everything goes on this family calendar. Now, when you look at my family calendar, it's not like this visual chaotic mess, okay? It's not like everybody puts all their stuff on there. I put the important things on there, like I put any oil changes that are coming up, The dinners, I put it at the very bottom of each one. Dinners that I have mapped out for the week, the chores that I'm going to do, just anything that's going on, I put on my visual calendar. And that way, not only do I see it, but the entire family uses it. However, I do think that I spend more time in front of it than the rest of the family. But I just have this habit of part of my routine of having coffee. As soon as I get my coffee mug, I walk over to the calendar because it's right there, and I'll just sip on my coffee. And I'm like, oh yeah, I had this to do. And oh, great, that's already taken care of. And this, and so I can look at what's going on for the day, and then I can look what's going on for the week. And sometimes I feel a little adventurous and look at the month, but definitely don't do anything that's going to create a visual stimulation that's going to be overwhelming for you. Just try to look and just get a snapshot of what's going on. So that way, again, you can prepare to be able to transition from one to the next and to be able to move into your chores, prepare for rest days. Because again, this, you don't want to lead to being overscheduled or overwhelmed with anything. So this is a great way to be able to have that control over not feeling overstimulated or overwhelmed. Again, review your calendar each day in order to better organize your thoughts for the day or week. Put stickies and reminders in places you will see it. Like I said, I'm like the Post-it queen. I have a stock of Post-its over there in the drawer. And if I only have like 2 left in the stack, like 2 of the Post-it pads, I will go and buy more. I really should invest in Post-it stock because I have to have it constantly as a reminder. I have one literally sitting next to my bed upstairs, and I write on it almost every single day, and I put it on my phone. I shut my phone down every day around 7 or 7:30 each evening, and so I don't want to create an alarm. I have so many alarms on my phone, but I put that sticky on there so I remember it. Or if I'm downstairs and I know I need to remember something for the next day, or I need to put something on the shopping list or something like that, I will put a sticky. I have a pad of sticky notes sitting on the fridge in a little magnetic basket on the side of the fridge with a pencil and pen, and I'll just grab it and write it, and I'll stick it to my coffee maker because I know I'm going to see it. I'm going to visit that coffee maker every single morning, and so I'm going to see it. And the great thing about this is that my kids know about it. And so they will leave me stickies of reminders, or if they want to tell me something and I'm already in bed, or they know I'm going to forget, they know where to leave it. So that way I'll see it. And so that can be a really great habit as well. There's even been mornings when I will open up my bedroom door and there will be a note on the ground that will say, "Hey, Mom," and we'll have a note on it to remind me of something. So your kids know what's going to work for you, and they're going to see that. And you know what? Even your kids can adopt this policy as well. Put a sticky where you're going to remember, and they'll probably adopt to it as well. Or, if you rather have an alarm, have an alarm. I have like 12 alarms a day that goes off to remind me of things because I'm going to forget it. So we're wrapping up. Thank you for holding on this long. Now, here's some additional tips that I've thought of for a successful school year. Again, include rest periods throughout your day in whichever way you can. If you work outside of the home, schedule periods throughout your day to be able to step away from your workspace and do whatever. I used to have a friend that used to go walking around her work. I had another friend that would just go and sit outside and listen to music. And that's what you need to do, is just step away from wherever you're working and just get that moment to yourself. If you come home, when you're driving home in the afternoons, have some decompression. When my husband comes home, I always give him 15 minutes of decompression. I don't let the kids bother him. I don't ask him questions. I don't tell him anything negative. I just, hello, how was your day? Good, go do something. And he goes and his way of resting and decompressing is just laying down and watching a documentary. And so we don't bother him in those 15 minutes. So if that is what you need, whether it be in your car or drive to a park, or, just come home and say, "Mommy needs 15 minutes, give yourself that, and don't feel guilty about it, because if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of your kids the way you want to. So remember to do that. If you're at home, do the same thing. Walk away from whatever is, kind of ramping you up or whatever. Sit outside, take a walk, do some gardening, listen to music, do something to just kind of step away and give yourself that rest. If you become overwhelmed, frustrated, fatigued, immediately take a short break. Be aware of your feelings, be mindful of yourself. And so that way, when you can feel yourself getting worked up, you know, hey, that's my time that I need to take a break from whatever I'm doing. I can't do this anymore. I was definitely doing that yesterday when I was like trying to make sure I was stressing myself out about this presentation because it's been so long since I've talked to all of you. And I wanted to make sure my thoughts aren't jumbled. And so I started doing this and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm repeating myself. And so I would just get up and walk away and I would go and do something else. And then I would come back and I'd be like, oh, okay. And I could better sort it out. So keep that in mind. Create a healthy sleep routine for everyone in order to get better sleep. This can be, different from person to person. Like I said, I turn off my phone every evening between 7 and 8. I just shut it off because I know otherwise I am going to be up all night looking at reels and Facebook and all of that. And so I turn it off. I make sure that, I have the same kind of, routine for every evening. Shut it off, go brush my teeth, watch a little bit of TV with the kids. I give them like a 30-minute heads up, hey, mommy's going to bed, come give me your hugs, tell me what you got to tell me before I go to bed. And then, we're off. Now, when the school year comes up, it's going to be a little bit different. They're going to have different times where they go to bed, and 2 of them go to bed later than I do. And so I just say, hey, make sure before you go to bed, like an hour before they go to bed, they have an alarm because we have the Alexa in their rooms, the Flex, and she goes off and says, it's time to turn off your electronics. And then they put their electronics outside my bedroom door because they know I get up multiple times a night. And if I open my door and see their electronics are not there, they know they're going to hear about it. And I give myself a Post-it note to say, hey, so-and-so didn't turn in their electronics. So again, that's where your visual reminders come in play. And if you establish that healthy sleep routine, then your kids are going to establish it as well. If your kids get up at like 7 in the morning, work backwards and give them 8 to 9 hours, depending on how much sleep they need, and have them go to bed before then. Turn off the electronics if you really want them to not be stimulated visually anymore. Just do what works best for y'all. And, because sleep is really hard for us to get anyway. So do what you can. Let your kids help with what they can. Give age-appropriate chores to each one. It could be daily or weekly chores. This not only teaches them to work together as a family, but also helps complete household tasks. Now, there's always a debate on whether you should have your kids have chores or not. In our family, we absolutely have chores. Dave teaches them financial responsibilities because I was never taught that growing up, and neither was he. And both of us want to make sure our kids have it. And I teach them the domestic side of things. So I teach them to wash their dishes after themselves, pick up their dirty clothes. I've even taught my older ones how to wash their own laundry, how to tidy up. They each have 1 day a week. They each have a part of the house to clean. Like my youngest her thing is to dust and vacuum the living room because vacuuming is really hard on my shoulders. And another one has, the game room, and they each have their own chores. I won't go on too much about this, but they each have chores, and this teaches them to take care of themselves, and it also helps you get the overall household chores complete. It's all about being a family unit and helping one another out, because it's not just us that lives with fibromyalgia, it affects the whole family. And so there's a lot of benefits that can come out of it. I know fibro can be a negative thing, but I try to see the positive in things, and I try to look at the positive side of fibro. And the positive side is I'm teaching my kids too on how to be a better family unit and to take care of themselves. And so this is one way that you can do that. Find tutorials online about school assignments or to get inspiration for school projects. We have some kind of project every year, the Gutenberg project or something. I am not a creative person when it comes to like gadgets and levers and mechanics and all of that stuff. And so every year I just look on YouTube, and the videos are really fun to watch too with my kids and try to get inspiration from that. If I get hung up on math, I know one of my followers said that math in particular was really hard for her. If I get hung up on math, because I mean, I've been out of school for like 15 years. College was like 15 years ago. I just look up, exactly what the homework assignment is called, and I will type that into YouTube. And there's always a teacher that has, like the little whiteboard, and they don't just give you the answer, they work through it. and how to do it. Khan Academy, they have a lot of free tutorials on there, and it's not just for math. They have science, social studies, geography. They have all kinds of stuff. So think outside your box and go to the internet and try to find those assignments to get help on those things. You can also ask your teacher, of course, and ask them for help on how to use a program or how, better help with the assignment. But if you really want to get some more inspiration and slow it down to your pace so you feel more comfortable, look online for it. Find ways to release stress that you enjoy. Encourage your kids to do the same. This is super important, that your kids see you practicing stress release, because whether your 2-year-old or 82 years old, you're going to have stress in some kind of way. So it's important for you to know how to manage your stress. Chronic stress can come out physically in so many ways. And a lot of it, like for me, a lot of it is in my gut. Like I will have a lot of stomach issues if I start stressing out about some, to the point where I will get nausea and will start, getting sick. So it's important for us to learn how that we release that stress. Again, I'm harping on, snuggling with your pet, listening to music, reading. Do what makes you feel good and that brings you happiness so you can melt that stress away. Some people want to exercise. It's totally not me. But if you like exercising and it helps sweat off all that stress, by all means do it. I notice every morning when I sit by my bedroom window and read, there is a lady that walks around my neighborhood, and there for like the first month of summer, she was walking by herself. Now I notice that her young son, like he's like 8 or 9, walks with her, and they're always smiling and talking together. And I love that. I love seeing them walk together. And he doesn't know that he's releasing stress. He's just enjoying his walk with his mom, and his mom's enjoying walk with him, but they're releasing stress in that kind of way. So do something together or do something on your own. But there's a lot of stress about going to school for you and your child. So you want to make sure that you're doing things regularly to release it. Find a support system for you and your family. Support can be a friend, an online community, or a loved one. You can even reach out to here at Support Fibromyalgia Network, or me at Being Fibro Mom. If you are a fibro parent, join my fibro parenting group on Facebook. I just love the community of togetherness. After my sister passed away in 2020, I really reverted into myself, and I really excluded a lot of my friends here in real life. And I turned to the online community because it's a lot easier to find support that way than in real life. And I know that a lot of us are like that. We're just really like shut-ins, and we really, just find it hard to just be around other people, and it's really draining. So find someone that you can find support in, no matter who that is, as long as you can trust them and they provide a safe environment for you to be able to talk. Find that support. You'll be amazed at where you can find support. If you're struggling during the school year, don't hesitate to reach out to the school counselor. Counselors are there to help both the student and their families, and they have a wealth of resources. This is really important to know, that every school has counselors. I mean, they have multiple counselors. There was a time in the past that I won't go into details, but I really needed some help, and I was struggling. This was like 6 years ago, and I was really struggling. And I made an offhand comment to our school counselor for the elementary school, and she was amazing. I mean, within a week, she was like, "Hey, I know that you just mentioned a little bit, and I hope not to intrude, but," and then she sent me all this, and it was so helpful. I mean, the next time I saw her, I hugged her, I was crying to her, and I was like, "You do not understand what you did for our family." And she says, "That's what we're here for. We're here to help the students and their families." So don't hesitate to reach out to them. They are there to teach the kids how to just cope with life and how to do certain things, but they're there to help you and the family as well. So reach out to them and let them know that you're needing help with whatever it is, whether it be needing to find clothes or, Christmas time or food, whatever it is. Reach out to them. They're there to help you, and don't be embarrassed to ask them for help. They see it all the time. So do yourself a favor and just ask for help. Okay, so that was it. That was all that we have. A couple of things I want to highlight real quick is all these things that I talked about: the importance of routines, fibro diets, how to set boundaries, flare kit, sleep. can all be found on my website, beingfibromom.com. Also, if you go to my website, up in the left-hand corner, you'll see something. I think the tab is products. If you click on that, it will go to my PayHip store. There are free printables. For tips for being a rock star fibro parent. There's also chore charts on there that you can print out. They're in color and black and white. And print them out, and they can help you with getting with chores. So don't forget to do all that stuff. So Melissa is back. Hi, Melissa.
Hello. What a wonderful presentation. It was jammed packed with information on not only preparing for back to school, but surviving the school year. And I'll add more links to the description. So everybody, I've been posting links to go to your website, but I'll definitely include the links to the free resources that you offer. We did include a link to the Facebook group. So please join that if you are on Facebook as well. Thank you so much, Brandi. I have so many questions as well. But I also want to tune in. We had some great comments come in and some funny commentary as well as you were talking with Lupus Spoons was saying calendars are her BFF.
Yes.
So she's really using those. She recommended, she has like 3 different with phone calendars, and then she puts different appointments in different colors so they stand out. I think that was a great tip. I'm looking for Holly's comment. She had something too when you're talking about shoes. So Holly says shoes walk off by themselves at my house. I wonder if we could put a locator on the shoes like we do Find My iPhone. But it's just all of this great information as we were and then shout out to Valerie. I know she says, thank you so much for sharing this information. And we're going to have some more workshops, as you mentioned, on managing pain and managing energy levels. And shout out to all the fibro parents, actually all the fibromyalgia advocates out there, to just know that, you're doing great just where you're at, and comparing yourselves to other people or normalcy. You don't need to do that. When it comes, and listening to Brandi and all the things that she's managing, and I know all the things that our fibro parents are managing, you guys are doing an amazing job. So just making sure people know that, because sometimes it even seems like adding new things in, like, wow, like how do you even manage that? I mean, I'm a stepmom there was one child involved, and this is where it's like multiple kids involved. It definitely, yes. Lupus Spoon says fibro parenting is so difficult. So all of this facilitating like groups, and then adding in the blogging and reels now, and not comparing people like to the standard, like what you see on social media, that perfection side. There's always something in the background that you're not, like, we have imperfect lives. Even though we look like we have everything together, things are definitely not perfect. And I had some questions that popped up. I was trying to take notes as well. But one of the things that I did want to know, when you're managing the kids' activities, do you try to get them into the same activities, or how do you manage when they're involved with multiple activities? Are they at the same time? I mean, I was thinking we should just all have a nap club, so all the kids get enrolled in one nap club. But how do you what do you encourage, like, if you have multiple kids in the family?
So I'm really going to have to ask the fibro parents in the community to help with this one, because my kids are big introverts. They're not in for extracurricular activities. I think the most that my kids did was my oldest daughter is into anime. And so at their school, they had an anime club. And so that was like once a week for an hour. And then my youngest daughter did a cooking club, and that was just for the early release days. So my kids don't go into sports and doing all of that. So I really don't know how to best manage that. I see some of my friends, I mean, they're gone as soon as school lets out until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And it's not just like a few of my mom friends. There are several mom friends that they go from the moment that school is out until 8 or 9 o'clock, and they're coming home having dinner. And I'm just like, I am like thankful that my kids don't do that, because I really don't know how I would manage that. So I'm really going to have to ask the fibro parents about that. Like, how do you manage doing all of that stuff?
I was just curious with living with fibromyalgia, yeah, because when Jonathan was playing, he would play the sports, but I mean that's one. So how do you drop him off, or how do you be in two places at once? And then having fibromyalgia, and like you mentioned, with energy, managing your energy throughout the day, managing tasks, scheduling. So I know that you have a lot of great free resources that we can tap into, and we're following the blog. This definitely can be broken down into so many different segments. And then even you mentioned batch cooking. We need to have you come back and share with that. I just did a quick overview of tips: batch cooking, meal prepping, meal planning, grocery shopping, like all of these tips for doing all of that with fibromyalgia and then having a family. So I definitely wanted to just acknowledge all the hard work that all the fibro parents are doing and the families that are putting together things. We're going to have more information too if it's going back to school for college. If you are fibromyalgia person, if you're a patient living with fibromyalgia and headed back to college, because I know that takes energy, that takes studying, a lot's involved with that. Let's see what Lupus Spoons has. It's running. Okay. Gotcha. And then she was in college. I would spend weeks with her. So we have some great tips coming in. We'll definitely continue to have people chime in. If you're watching the recap as well, please continue to share tips so the whole community can benefit. And Brandi, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say one of the obstacles that I came with this presentation was to try not to get too much into just managing fibromyalgia. I was really trying to focus on those aspects of fibromyalgia that is specific to back to school. And it was really hard for me because all of it is related to being able to manage the house during school. And so I remember last week when you were like, you sent me something, it was like, hey, did we talk about this yet? About balancing fibromyalgia and family? And I was like, no, we haven't, but I have really not mastered it, but I have really come a long way in the last 2 years of better managing fibromyalgia and my family. I was, like you were saying earlier about social media, I took a break from social media for at least a year because I felt like I wasn't doing as well as everybody else I was seeing on social media. I was like, man, these people have their lives together. I do not. I'm like a train wreck over here trying to just make it through, the next hour. I can't do this. And it was just putting me down like mentally. I just couldn't take it. So I cut off of social media and I just focused on trying to juggle the two. And so when you sent me that, I was like, yes, that needs to be a topic. And so when I was going through this back to school presentation, I was making notes off to the side and thinking, this needs to go into that workshop because that in itself needs to be its own workshop on how to be able to manage fibromyalgia and the kids, the house at the same time.
Well, it's a perfect topic but it does tie in really well because there's so many components to it when it comes to managing a family, and how you build off of those and how you manage energy and your pain, and then working together as a family unit, getting other people involved, getting, like you said, finding joy in the little moments and how you do that moving forward. So you really showcased a lot of different tips, and then even working with schools. I think we'll have some more resources on in depth, like how to manage that communication when it comes to what you have to say, especially if you have a child living with fibromyalgia or other chronic illness conditions. So I know we had a discussion about that and diving into more details and content for that moving forward. But I do want to acknowledge the time, and I know that like we give these presentations, and I mean there's so much to share, isn't there?
Yes, there is. I was really trying to just hack it down. And as I was talking, I was trying not to focus on the time and fret too much about it. But I was like, oh my goodness, I hope I'm not running over right now. But I just feel like this was just something that we really need to tackle because whether you're at the beginning of the school year, middle, or the end, you can have burnout. And I mean, we just need to be able to encourage and lift one another up. And like you said, not compare ourselves to the next person, just figure out what works for our family and move forward from that. So it was really hard to just like condense it all down. And I hope that I touched on all like good topics without going off too much. I have a tendency to do that.
Well, there's a lot of great information. I mean, even just thinking about shopping for school supplies and what that looks like, there's been a lot of sales going on in advance to get people in. So, taking the time to rest if you have to go into the store, or shipping is become my favorite thing from different stores. So I see that they sell like packages if you have bigger families. I know things like Costco or Sam's Club, they sell everything in bulk. So you can order those, get those shipped. And I know people have questions on like grocery shopping, which we can dive into more when it comes to tips on just managing grocery shopping, making lists ahead of time, meal planning so you know what you're going to buy, or using some of those delivery services. I think that's a separate conversation. Delivery services or curbside pickup. If delivery services are costing too much, like curbside pickup has been phenomenal. They just bring it to your car, so you're not actually shopping in the grocery store. And one thing just to say to people, I don't know if it's just me or this, if it's universally fibromyalgia energy, but any sort of shopping, I always have so much vigilance that I don't get hit by someone else's cart, like
Yes.
shopping cart. I seem to attract it. Like they just don't pay attention where they're going. I'm having a bad day, and I just get rammed with another cart. And so that's why I'm so happy not to necessarily have to go to stores and manage that anymore. But there's so many tips when it comes to shopping
I hate
that
shopping. I hate shop. I really do. I really hate shopping. Amazon has been. I know all the Amazon delivery people because I have to try to order it online. And I did Instacart for the first time. Loved it. I know I'm going to do more of that. I don't like being in shopping. It's all the sounds and I can't. I don't even want to go into it. It's going to give me anxiety just going into it.
Oh, and it's even worse now. But I mean, these are the other things like just creating videos on. And I know Valerie is asking for any good meals. So Brandy has some smoothie recipes. On August 20th, we're testing out Hopin, and we want to invite people. So Valerie, if you are free on Saturday on August 20th, we want to test out the Hopin software, make it interactive, make it an interactive workshop. We're going to go through some functional medicine information specifically geared for fibromyalgia, but I'm going to share some food plans from the Institute of Functional Medicine in there for anyone that attends. You'll get the PDFs for free. So it's an entirely free workshop. And I know Valerie was looking for more vegan food. So there are vegan food maps and things like that from the Institute of Functional Medicine. We'll share all of these links in the description, and we'll be back. So our goal is to have more workshops more frequently. And I know Brandi will be back. We're looking at having more monthly workshops. And so we'll continue with these.
Yeah, because next month is pain awareness. So next month we have it on our list to talk about a flare kit, managing pain. And we hope to do that again on the second Thursday of September. I don't even know what that date is right now.
I have no idea.
No,
Brain fog, and I need more coffee. But if you have pain toolkits that you love to use, we're encouraging our other patients to share so that we can highlight what's in your pain toolkit as well. So we'll bring that in for September. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. Please like and share the content. Go check out Brandi at Being Fibro Mom. You have your website, so beingfibromom.com. You are on Facebook, Instagram. You watch those reels, share her reels. You have videos on YouTube. So be sure to follow her on her social media accounts.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun, and I've been just enjoying getting back into the fibromyalgia community, and just being inspired by all these great fibro parents, and even the ones that are not parents. Like we're all just coming together, and it's just the reels are so much fun to create, but they're a lot of fun to watch too. They're very inspiring. So yeah, you're gonna see more of that from us.
Well, Lupus Spoon says, thank you so much. Well worth it. So, Brandi, we always appreciate you. I'm glad you're enjoying those reels because they give me a headache, all that content stuff. So, please definitely support our bloggers out there and share their content, read the content, and let people know. Join the Fibro Parenting group in Facebook as well. So, thank
Yes.
you everyone for tuning in. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.